Oh my goodness. Oh my god. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you see this. What was I trying to do? I was trying to do something here. Didn't post. Oh yeah, it did post. Oh, first day of spring. Happy spring. Happy spring. Yes. Okay, let's get some lipstick on here. I'm looking kind of bland. You guys know the routine. Hmm. That's quite a nice color. Didn't get it on my rotten teeth. They're not rotten. I just got crooked teeth at the bottom. So, and then fluff the hair. Got to fluff the hair in the morning. Got to fluff it. There we go. We got a little bit of fluffing going on. Let's make sure my antennas and my horns aren't showing. So, there we go. Put them down. Welcome. Good morning. It's spring. First day of spring. How beautiful. It's supposed to be like 9 degrees today. Isn't that fabulous? So weather's not too bad. I don't know where the sun went. Cloud. I don't know. It's supposed to be a nice day. It doesn't feel too bad outside. The sun isn't as sunny as what you want it to be, but man, did you see the celebration in Stonehenge? They had the drummers, they had the druids, everybody was in the center. Ah! It's the only time a year that, well, not the only time a year. It's only on the equinoxes, right? That you can go into the center. Otherwise, Stonehenge is like a huge tourist spot now. You have to go through a ticket booth and the whole bit. It's like very, very touristy. Um, and it's not like I guess people used to just they might have had a little booth and then people would go and wander around and stuff. Now they have a perimeter that you can walk around. You can't get too close to the stones, and you're not allowed to pick up any pebbles, any rocks or anything around there. So things like that. They do have a major road that goes by Stonehenge, and for a number of years right now, they've been wanting to expand that road, but they've had a lot of opposition, especially from the Druid community, and that are saying no because it would ruin a lot of what's around there. Plus, there is Stonehenge, and not far from Stonehenge, I don't know how far, but down the road, there's a place called Avery. Avery is there's a stone hedge around the city, around the village, which is very cool. And you can go up and you can walk around that. Also, in around Stonehenge, there's many different mounds. So you have different mounds that haven't been excavated. Some have, some haven't. So there's a lot there that hasn't been excavated. One, either money or interest or whatever it is, but it's pretty fucking cool when you look at it. The other thing, which is kind of cool, is what they found underneath the Giza pyramid. Now, there's a machine, and if you've ever watched any of the archaeological digs, before they dig, they have like this um, sonar reader that goes over the ground. So if you have a certain area that you want to excavate, right, you would take this and it would sort of bring up these not images, but different forms of vibration. And these different sonar vibrations tell you if it's an empty space, if there's something in there, sort of like gives you kind of like a shape, sort of, or where, especially if you're going to be digging up in England, where they if they're going to dig up, and if they think it's like a round house, or if it's a Roman villa or something like that, they can kind of get the outskirts, or if it's a tower and stuff like that. Anyways, they did this on the Giza pyramid, and they found kind of like where these kind of like cylinder shapes, and then it looks like little spirals. They're not sure exactly what it is, but I mean, there's a lot of theories that the pyramids in that were electrical, like they were like an electrical outlet. They gave off a lot of electrical energy. I mean, just from the limestone that was used and some of the stone that was used inside. I mean, they used to be brilliant white. Could you imagine? Like, oh my goodness. Like it just see to just that the energy that they would have given off. Plus, besides some of the pyramids in Egypt, they also have like sound ones where they have perfect acoustics, and it goes up to so many hertz, and each of the vibrational hertz gives off a healing vibration. They also, and it has to do with how the water runs through it. So cool. So there's a lot of this technology that's been around. And I find it very interesting that we always think that, oh, we're the modern age. Could you imagine being in the industrial revolution, like the industrial, in the 17, when they just found out how to make tin, or how to forge steel, or whatever it was, and they're like, oh, we are the modern civilization. And we look at them now and we're like, what? How could you be modern civilized? But every age, there is something that new comes in, new technology, new ideas, new findings. And it's I think it's just really interesting. And this being spring, I find that we are really this year stepping into this newness, stepping into something that we've not experienced before. Right? We haven't ever experienced like the toppling of all of the world, everywhere, not just in North America, but everywhere, going through this change. The whole world is going through this change, this vibrational change. We also have Neptune, and that's going to be within the next 10 days, going into Aries. What a craziness is that? I mean, this is going from where he's been for the last 14 years. And if you look at society in the last 14, this is very Neptunian, where people are just like, oh, we should go this way. This is what is a new thing. This is, a new idea. And especially when it comes to, because Neptune is a very promiscuous, very alluring type of energy. He is a god that went after what he felt he could go after. I mean, look what he did to Medusa. Um, he feels, I mean, he has the right to do things because he has that justification to do it. So we've seen a lot of these uprising. Now he's going to be going into Aries. Aries is like, I don't give a fuck what you want. I don't care. This is what you would like to do. We're doing this. This is Aries energy. This is like action oriented. This is like, electrical. Okay. This is like, whew, we're doing this. So we are coming into a time where the energies, especially with Neptune, and Neptune is going to be meeting up again with M- Mercury. Mercury does not like Neptune. He thinks Neptune is a narcissistic asshole. And Mars and Mercury is just like, whatever. And because the thing is, when Mercury's in Neptune's home, Pisces, it's at fall position. He's forced to do things, or look at things that he doesn't even want to be a part of. And he's going back in there, and he's going back in there with Venus. And, where that's where Venus is exalted. Venus loves it because, Neptune just like waits on her, but he's not going to be there with her when she's in there. They will meet up again as she passes, goes back and forth. I mean, she's going to get glimpses of him, and Neptune will slow down and go back into Pisces for a little bit. And then finally in February of next year, that's the last hurrah. And that's where Neptune will be in Aries for about another 14 or so years. It takes Neptune about 160 years to get around the sun. So chances of us having this Piscean energy again, um, probably not. We're not sure what this Neptunian energy is going to be like. I mean, last time it was the Civil War. That's the closest time we can relate it to. So it was a time of really change and radical ideas coming, and people really coming out for their rights and wanting to stand up for their rights, stand up for what they believed in, and go forward in it. So when we look in the era of the Civil War and the energies of the Civil War years. So the Civil War years from 1861 to 1865. So what I love to do is like then I take history of say 1861, history of 1861. So I Google. So what are the kind of things that were happening at this? And it was the starting on Tuesday of the Gregorian calendar. So, and a common year starting on a Sunday of the Julian calendar. So, what was happening in the world? Well, we had the United States to form a confederation state. Um, so we had that was going on, and so a crisis was happening in and around the world. And the other things, and I agree to that, blah, 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 that won't let me look at that. I love to look at, like, sort of historical events and then compare them to the kind of things that are going on in the world. Um, history of these world. I'm gonna put world because 'cause it'll bring up a lot of American, energy of what's happening on. Still a lot of Confederation. World history. The Tsar Alexander issued a proclamation emancipating Russia's serfs. So that is huge. So we're looking at so there's a lot to do with freeing of people, freeing things up, freeing of slaves, freeing of the serfs. Now, the serfs were the ones who were the ones who took care of the land and took care, when you basically what happened was when you died, the people who lived on that land went into your will. You willed them to the next person. So that basically owned, very similar to slaves. The telegraph connects the west coast of the United States to the east coast. Germany workers making mirrors have lost all of their teeth. Interesting. So they're working with mercury. So the mirrors becoming a thing, and so they're looking. Government regulations regarding alternative mirror making processes. So new laws on things that were dangerous to look at. Britain, a government commission begins to investigate non-test textile industries employing children. Occupational disease among children are discovered. So things about discovery about children, um, and different diseases that they never looked at as a problem. And I, this has to do with how children were exploited in many different industries. Uh, Prussia, the largest of German states, a member of the landed aristocrat, Otto von Bismarck becomes minister president, representing the king. He declares that the government is to rule without parliament. Ooh, that's interesting. That's very interesting. Now, if you think about what's going to be happening, because with where Neptune is going into Aries and a lot of the correlation into that timeline, we correlate to see what's going on. 1862, United States, the first paper money is issued. So what's going to be changing with the money issue? So much. It's just like that was happening in that time. Frenchman Victor Hugo has his historical novel Les Miserables published, and it's about the rebellion in Paris around 1830 against King Charles X. The book is serialized in 10 installments in the bestseller across Europe. So that just brings up a lot. And Karl Marx, Hugo favors revolution, but contrary to Karl Marx, he was trying to unite the revolution and religions. And unlike Karl Marx, now in exile in London, who wants an end to the ruling class as a class. So endings. Oh my goodness. So this spring equinox, with the planets and with all of these are the things that take a look at what's going on in the world and the changes that are happening, where there could be new discoveries when it comes to different diseases that children have that we never thought about. So some of these things could be, I'm going to say, related to maybe mental health, where we're realizing that children have, maybe more issues with mental health than we ever knew before, where we know that there's a lot to do with stress and anxiety and things like that, but something more coming out, and it could have something to do with what was going on before. So what was the history before the discovery of this mental health? What are the things that happened that could have triggered this types of things within children? I mean, here they had them working in the workhouses. We don't have children working in the workhouses here in the Western world, but they do in other countries, right? So these are some of the things. And then the issue of new money. So the United States' first paper money was issued in 1862. So we're in this timeline. So what kind of new money may be issued during this time? Interesting. Slavery ends in Dutch ruled Indonesia. Cambodia becomes a French um, protectorate with the approval of its king Norodom. So Cambodia becomes a part of France. Interesting. And what does Trump want to make up Greenland? Uh, in British legislations respond to air pollution from chemical industries. So things to do with air pollution. Interesting, created by Alkali Acts for reducing hydrochloride emissions. And Steve and I were just talking about the planes, you know, and the chemtrails. So things about air pollution, things that we're putting up into the air. I think that's going to be becoming a big issue as well. And people are going to be really speaking out about this more. A lot more areas are saying that they don't want chemtrails anymore. Like, that they're voting against it and getting legislation that no chemtrails, which is, I think, because what they're also finding with these chemtrails, just going off on a little tangent, is that snow isn't snow anymore. We've seen the things where people have tried to light and the snow sort of lights on fire. Snow doesn't light on fire. Or it's becoming what they call soapy snow. So when the snow, even when it freezes, it's not like it's real frozen. It's kind of still slippery-ish, like soap, and giving that soapiness feeling. So what they have found since they've been doing, especially with going back to the chemtrails, is that more pileups, more accidents than before with, when they have, crazy snowstorms and blizzards and things like that. And where they found where even with the traffic and stuff, but they're finding that there's more issues with the different with the road conditions. So, which I found very interesting as well. Devout Baptist John D. Rockefeller, age 24, enters the oil refining business. Ooh, Rockefeller, oil refining. Hmm. Oh, a new gun, the hand crank Gatling gun, came out in 1861. Was designed by Richard Gatling in 1861 and was used in the U.S. Civil War, and was being brought out. Miners have been invading Colorado, Ontario, disclosing and angering Cheyenne and I'm going to say this right, Arapaho Indians. A Cheyenne Arapaho war against the whites has erupted. Interesting. An Indian chief of a band of the Cheyenne and the Arapaho. I know I'm not supposed to say Indian, but I'm just reading this right now, people, so don't get your shit in a knot. Has chosen peace. They have settled temporarily at Sand Creek. Military commander Colonel Shivington What a name, Shivington. I am Colonel Shivington. It really sounds like something old and stuck up your ass name. Is is intent on killing Indians and leads 700 men in the massacre. No, yeah, he does have something shoved up his ass at Sand Creek that includes women and children. So, with all of these different, oh, the subway, the first underground subway passenger system in 1863. History in that time, this is all when Neptune was in Aries. Look at all the electrifying things that were happening. Um, Oil refinery. We're finding that Java and Sumatra experimented with rubber cultivation. We find things to do with people making mercury mirrors and um, what that you know what that did, and changes in the law, things to do with children, right? It I am just like, wow. Looking at this frame of history. Now, this is how for many people, I know. You guys are laughing at me. I get excited over this shit because it's showing you that this is like, look at when this planet's in this sign, look at what happens. Right? Same with when I said when Saturn and Jupiter are when Saturn and Pluto are together, look at the shit that happens. Right? There's some, disease that comes out. Last time, before that, it was just a brief time when Pluto and Saturn met in Libra for a brief time. Then, then they met in Capricorn. And I said there's something to do that's going to happen in an industrial area, blah, blah, blah. We all know what happened there. Not going to go through that. But now we're having Neptune coming into Aries. And he's going to be doing these little dances back and forth, with the sun. Right now the sun is beautifully in there, making springtime. Whew, spring, I love it. Come, and then we have Mars is going to Cassini the sun, and Venus is going to come up to the sun, and Neptune is just going to like follow her in. She's going to be a little ways down, but follow her into Aries. This, yeah, we survived another winter. Wow! This is huge transformation that we're coming into the world. And what makes it a wee bit different, just some of the things that are different, we have Saturn coming in with this. Now, we won't have, and of course Gemini's are Uranus is going to Gemini. That's a whole nother thing too. So we're looking at history really changing. We're looking at things really changing in huge dramatic ways. And we got to think of even back then of some of the things that changed in history for us in everyday. So I mean, even with things like massacres and things like that, we are seeing like right now there's massacres that are going on in different parts of the world, but right now it's actually a massacre when it happens with Christianity, and the massacre that's going on with Christianity. We're also witnessing, what is, when it has things to do with history and the First Nations, what's going to be happening within the First Nations over the next several years. What about all the, because I think the treaties are all fucking bullshit, and I don't think they should have any treaties, but hey, that's a whole nother topic. And I know that's going to piss off a lot of people there too. But I feel that there's huge change that's going to come in with that. The other part too, which I found very interesting with this history, is the freeing of so many different slaves, right? So we had the United States fighting against the slaves. We had the Serbs being let go in France. We had slaves being, released in the Indonesian area. So a lot of things coming together. We had the CP, the Central Pacific Railway Company hires Chinese to work the Transcontinental Railway. So now we're seeing big industrial um activities happening. I mean, the Transcontinental Railway, the joining, I mean, even building the railway across Canada, that's huge. That's a huge feat, right? So there's going to be huge feats that are going to come. There's something to do with the railways, something to do with the trains is going to come in, and of some kind of changes within the railway system. So we're going to be seeing, big changes within that industry. And I kind of nudging towards that air flights or flying is not going to be a thing anymore. I mean, on a regular basis, how we all like, oh, I got to go catch my flight. Oh, I got to go fly over here and fly over there. You're not going to find people flying, and it's because one, either it's going to be way too expensive for people to do, plus of some of the problems and issues that they've had. More people are going to be on a train, taking a train. You're going to find people more on the ocean, shipping, ships, things to do with ships. So a lot to do with ships is going to be coming in, cruises, things like that. People are going to be more inclined to do that than doing the flying and that than they were doing before. And then when it has to do with the currency, what kind of currency are we going to be using? What's going to change within the American currency? Interesting. Interesting. So it's like if that was the first issue of the first note in the United States, what are they going to issue new? I mean, is it going to be centralized currency? That we've talked about before, because we still have, and that's going to be happening with Uranus and Gemini. So there's going to be a change in currency, and there was a change in currency during World War II. With the United States, they became the world currency. So that's very interesting. And that'll happen with Uranus cap going into Gemini. So when it comes to history, when it comes to information, this is the fucking shit I do. This is what I love. And this is why I love listening to the Leo King too. Because he goes into crazier shit than I do. Right? He's younger. He's just and his brain works differently than mine. Like he just remembers things differently than I do. But that's when I look to see how the planets are dancing, and then I look at the history, and then I watch what's going on. It's like, whoa, the correlations. This is how you do either predictions. This is how you do when you look at somebody's natal chart, and you look at where the planets are and how that is relating to their life, how that is reacting to their life. Now, a lot of people roll their eyes when I tell them things, and they're like, oh, what does she know? Or they get upset because I tell them, like, you better watch this, or you better take care of yourself, and if you don't do this, you're going to be in hospital. I've told a few people that before, where I said, if you don't take care of your health, this is like a major health issue right now coming in on your chart, and you got to start taking care of your health, whatever that is. It could be, if you're not feeling well, if you keep pushing something off, this is where people have to awaken. So there's things, when I look at people's chart to help them along. So let's see what else. 1 in 5 adult males in England and Wales can vote. Demonstrations erupt in Britain. Demonstrations in London's Hyde Park is banned by the government. Demonstrations being banned in England. So things in England, things are going to get crazier in England. But the crowd is so huge, the government does not attack. So a Reform Act of 1867 is passed, extending the vote to those individuals whose name homes are owned or rented. This doubles the number of males in Wales and England who can vote. Crazy. I just saw 4 army guys walking up Main Street. Yeah, you're going to see more of that. Politicians must account themselves to the increased electorate, but the upper class can better afford the increased campaigning, which helps the conservative candidates. Interesting. The Tsar, Alexander is seeking consolidation of its frontier. During this time, this is when Alaska sold to the United States. What do you think is going to be sold to the United States? Besides Canada. Just kidding. You could see within the next 4 years, it could be Greenland. These things that we think are so bizarre, these things that we think can never happen, or the boundaries or the borders, I heard Trump said, you you know how he talks. Someone just flipped a ruler down on a map and just drew the line and said, that's Canada and that's the United States. That's basically it. I mean, when you look at like a lot of the borders and boundaries that have been, made, is just basically someone saying, "Well, this is this, this is this," and it can be changed very easily. And that's where things can change. Things can evolve. Um, I find it. I learned something new yesterday. Not only learning about this history today, but that our circus clown of a prime minister uh can't go into parliament. He's not allowed on the floor. Did you know that? Because he's an appointed prime minister, he is not allowed on the floor. He's not allowed in parliament because he doesn't hold a seat. He's got to be in the back. So he cannot be questioned. How screwed up is that? So he can do things and he can't really be questioned. Like you saw Trudeau come down on the floor and he'd have a debate with Pierre. Yeah, we're probably not going to see that. We won't see that. That's so interesting. Wow. I was just like blown away when I found that fact out. That's just so very interesting. Then he shouldn't be able to spend Canada's money. Right, Jen? Right? Like, he shouldn't be gallivanting over in Europe right now. Oh my goodness. Like, because he's not a politician. He doesn't hold a seat anywhere. If he held a seat, say in Ontario or Quebec, because that's the only place that would probably vote for him, he doesn't hold the seat, right? So he can't be in there. He's a backbencher. There's not going to be a snap election. They're not. They're not. They can rumor. I can tell you just by looking at the chart. I can. Even the toilet has a seat. Oh, he's probably keeping the tampons in the men's bathroom. No, there's not going to be a snap election. He already stated the election isn't till around November. He already stated that when he first became prime minister. So that's interesting. So when it comes to the Canadian history, so it wasn't only the war, but a major flood in Montreal, Nova Scotia, resolution for provincial union was happening. Confederate operators secretly used Canada and particularly the Maritimes as a base against the North in violation of the British neutrality. So the Maritimes struggled to maintain their independence from Canada and led some Maritimes to be sympathetic to the South. Desires to maintain independence from the North. Interesting. So a lot of people in the East sympathized. Oh my God, sympathized with the Democratic South who wanted the slaves. So who's sympathizing with all of the South right now, or with the Democrats? The East, the NDP. Why do you think Trump said that he'd rather work with a liberal? And it got everybody up in arms. Oh my God. I freaked out. I'm just like, really? No, he just fucked with your head because they're like all these liberals who were supposed to hate Trump are like, he wants to have us? What do you mean? Do we like him or not? So it's just you just got to go like, oh my god. And by the let's see, St. Lawrence, we have 1867 coming up. Why is 1867 an important year? Well, the British North America Act, today known as the Constitution Act of 1867, created Canada. Interesting. So we're also coming up to the formation of when Canada was formed. During this time frame of Neptune in Aries and with Uranus in Gemini. So is our confederation, is our identity up for grabs? Because I mean, basically it was the Queen, it was Queen Victoria who just basically, and General Lord Monk signs a proclamation that requests all of Her Majesty the Queen Victoria's subjects across Canada to celebrate on July 1st. So it's the Queen who told us we had to do that. So it's we also have new provinces coming in, Manitoba Act, all kinds of things. So Canada was just Upper and Lower Canada were changing. There was no more Upper and Lower Canada. So Canada during that time was changing a lot, changing in its identity, changing in its laws. I mean, even in the voting laws would have been changing. So huge, crazy disruptions. And now I mean, even with our PM that we have right now, I mean, our first prime minister was John A. Macdonald, like him, hate him, whatever. It's part of our history. It's part of who we, part of our foundation of who we are as a nation. I mean, there's been good prime ministers and bad prime ministers. There's been good presidents and bad presidents. I mean, that's what makes history up. But these are the crazy volatile times that we're coming in. We're coming into things that, were crazy changing at that time. Now we're in a time of the crazy changing times that are times 100. We are in a time that is bringing such diversity and light and formation into this world that we've never seen before. We're coming into connections that we've never had before. The discoveries of even talking about aliens coming in. So we have so much, and some of it's just like so far-fetched that it's hard for our brains to wrap around. But these are the changes that we're in, and it's exciting, I think. And the biggest thing that we can do for ourselves is this is our time of discovery of us, of you, and the things that are important to you. It's not about you going out and saving the world. It's not, unless that's, you feel that's your calling, is to do that. But this is the time of discovering, okay, what is my mission? Like, what am I discovering at this time about me? And to continue on that mission, to continue down that, and to continue in holding down that light. That's the most important thing at this time. Exciting times. I'm so excited. I should have been a spring baby instead of a fall baby. We're doing messages from fairies. I'm going to pull a card from there first. Got the little phase out. And I'll have, for the people who are part of my 21-day journey, your recording should be out today or tomorrow, will be for your last day. And then we will gather on Sunday for our last time together on Sunday. So flower power came up again. So flower power. So there's a lot to do. Well, springtime, flowers, bring in the flowers, bring in that essence. So there's a lot to do with healing when it comes to the healing power of flowers. So look into it for yourself on bringing in different Bach remedies. I do have a book on it, on the different remedies for the flowers somewhere, but it's, what is that flower? What flowers are you attracted to? Go out and buy some flowers. That's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to buy a bouquet of flowers. Bring in the flowers. Bring in um that frequency and have that around you. Even start, little flowers inside if you want. Sunflowers and things like that would be very cool to be doing as well. I got the butterfly ones, so we're going to pull a butterfly. Ooh, I hardly ever use these ones. I think I've only used them once or twice. Oh, they're still stiff. Tells you, they're still really stiff. They're like brand new. And I've had them. I used to buy every time Doreen came out. Well, not every time. Most of the time when Doreen came out with a deck, I would get her new deck, right? Because, that was the thing to do. Everybody had Doreen Virtue. And then I would, but I always went back to my tarot. Always. It's like, I love these cards, but I always would go back to the tarot. I mean, these are great cards and stuff like that, but I felt tarot just gives you more of that nitty gritty things that you need in life to understand exactly what's going on. Oh, interesting. Flower power, and I got religion and spirituality. That's interesting. So religion and spirituality is coming up with this as well. So let's see what this has to say about that. Your spiritual life is shifting because you are getting in touch with your honest beliefs. What worked for you in the past doesn't ring true for you now. Very interesting. So religion and spirituality, look at what's not working for you when it comes to your religion, comes to your spirituality, comes into what it is that you believe or not believe in, and bring the flowers in. Allow the flower energy to come in to help to guide you. And make certain that everything is as it appears to be, and that you retain your ability to exercise your free will. Most important, be sure that you are happy on a spiritual path that is aligned with your sincere beliefs. So look into what it is that, a lot of people are converting to new religion. A lot of people blending multiple faith families. I know a lot of families that are like that. But bringing that spiritual life into your world and how you would like that to appear in your life. How do you want that to show up? From either setting up either an altar or bringing different prayers or chants into your life, and allowing for that flower. So allowing for that blend to come in. I think that's beautiful. Wow. So this is such beautiful energy that's coming in and bringing that blend into your life with the flowers. There you go, on this beautiful spring day. Enjoy. Know that you are blessed. Know that you have power within you, right? And that we are in a time of great transformation and changes. This is where we're at, baby. All right. So we'll talk to y'all soon, and have a blessed one. Oh, here's Steve in the back. Must be talking to his sister. Bye bye, everybody. Talk to you soon. God bless, and the goddess bless you.